Flower Club Day, everybody. Here's a sneak peek of what we are designing today. We've got beautiful pink blushing bride, pink thrip, and a little bit of gum. Love, 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 love. You may have noticed that Kelly is not standing behind the bench today hosting. She has kindly handed the torch over to me this week. So thank you, Kelly, for allowing me to take your place behind the bench. So I'll introduce myself before I introduce the flowers. My name is Penny. I've worked at Fig & Bloom for about 3 years. I'm the product manager, so I collaborate with Kelly to create the designs for you and also the designs that we create for our website as well. I'm a flower lover just like you, so be kind. This is my first tutorial. What's in the box? Oh, if I can wrangle it. This week, we have a little bit of a monochromatic natives vibe. So we have some beautiful pink blushing bride, stunning pink thrip, and we also have some beautiful gum. Not a whole lot of prep in this week's tutorial. If you've been around here for a couple of weeks, when we've used things like daffodils, early cheer, we've had a little bit of prep to do, but we're just going to get cracking. The only thing that I would suggest is this beautiful pink thrip is dyed. I would suggest putting newspaper, an old towel, something or other on your workbench before you start. You can't see this, but there is a pink tinge to the desk at the moment that I'll have to jiff off later. Blushing Bride's very easy to prep. It's a nice, neat stem with your flowers on top. The thrip is the only thing that has a little bit more going on. This, if we just pop that straight in the water like that, all of this would just start to release bacteria into the water, make your flowers die quicker. We don't want that. You can start thinking about the pieces that you want to use first, maybe see which ones are the tallest, where the direction that they're kind of naturally going, because that'll kind of inform where you put them in the vase. Has everybody joined the Facebook group? I hope so. If you haven't, we'd love to have you over there. You can share your beautiful design, and you can also suggest your favorite flower that you want to see in the Flower Club box eventually, or, you know, your dream flower combinations that you'd love to see. We'd love to hear from you. And if you see something weird like this, don't give up on it. Don't throw it away. Keep all these little guys because they're a great way to finish it off. Create a little pop. If anyone is wanting to join the Facebook group, just search the Flower Club by Fig & Bloom and hit join. I'll be there. I've done all of my thrip prep. Blushing Bride is one of my favorites. It comes in this pink color and also white, and it is a favorite for brides. It's quite popular for weddings. So this design is going to dry really beautifully. They'll lose a little bit of their color just as they age. You'll be able to keep this design long after the flowers have dried up, and it'll still be really beautiful. The prepping and conditioning of the flowers is the bit that takes a little bit of time, but all of the time that you spend prepping, if you take your time to really clean up the stems, the final result of your arrangement will not only be better, but it'll last longer, like we said, with the bacteria in the water. And there's less likely that one of these little guys is just going to kind of flop off into the water and start spreading its germs. Even if you don't follow this tutorial exactly and you kind of want to do your own thing, want to freestyle a little bit, which is totally cool. Love to see the creativity that everybody shares on socials. Please do that. But paying attention to the length of the stems, that's probably the best thing that you can do to make your arrangement look very cohesive. Be quite intentional about the length of each stem and making sure it's fitting into a pocket really nicely. Now, the trusty white ceramic vase. We'll design into this, but if you have your own vase that you love, 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 if it's taller than this, the only thing that I would suggest is making sure that you just pay attention to the length of the stem. These are obviously much shorter than something like this. So if your vase is kind of hanging out up here, just make sure the water level's high enough so that everyone's having a drink. Cool. So let's get cracking. I'm going to start with a little bit of a foliage base. I'm going to do a front-facing design. We've done pretty much only front-facing designs. That's kind of what we do at Fig & Bloom. If you're making something more rounded, you can adapt this. Just spin your vase as you go. If you have a Lazy Susan, even better. What I'm going to do is start with this and measure against the vase. You see how the bottom of these leaves are going to be touching the lip of the vase, and then whatever's hanging out down there, I can get rid of. We're going to kind of see what we're working with here. So might have this kind of, so wanting to go this way, we'll let it do that. This one's quite nice and straight, so we're going to have that one be our center piece. The stem's too strong, a little cut and then snap it, and then you can cut through the rest nice and easily. I'm selecting by length, a nice well-behaved stem. It's always nice to go bang in the center eventually. And then the ones that have a little bit more of a lean to them, you can, excuse you, behave. If it doesn't stand up perfectly straight right now, that's okay. It will eventually once its friends join the party. So that's kind of what we're working with to start. For our pieces of thrip, kind of divide them by like your shorter pieces and then find the ones that kind of have a little bit more going on. A good way to kind of start out if you're wanting to create impactful section of just thrip on one side of the vase is to kind of start putting it together in your hand like this and seeing kind of what it's all going to look like in the vase. You don't have to be too perfect. You can just kind of throw it together, because sometimes just throwing it together in the hand and seeing how it naturally falls is a good way just to get the creative juices flowing. So I've started with the two tall pieces that were the biggest in my bunch, and then I've added a couple of little pieces just at the front that are just kind of that are going to have a little bit of forward projection, and that's going to create a little bit of depth. Great thing about something like thrip is it creates lots of depth, lots of movement, because there's so much going on visually, almost acting as kind of one piece measuring against the vase. And then we're going to snip. So now I've got my kind of two big pieces here, and I'm going to kind of start filling in this middle section of the thrip over here and create a really nice pop. And what I kind of want to do here with the thrip is angle it forward. So instead of popping them in straight up and down like that, like we might have done with kind of the back pieces, I'm going to start angling forward to create that dimension and that depth. Piece that forks off like this, don't be afraid to split it in two. So this is kind of where we are situated at the moment. So I've kind of tried to create that depth from the side. We have some projection coming out the front with the thrip and a little bit of asymmetry with the gum. In spring, we see lots of new flowers, lots of new things coming back into season. Very exciting. One thing that spring does bring on is new growth in our foliage as well. So you can see this one, for example. I'm not sure if you can see this new growth. It's basically not established enough to last off the tree. So it's going to just shrivel up and die. That doesn't mean that your gum is dying. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the gum. So don't be afraid to give your gum a little bit of a haircut if it comes with leaves that look almost translucent. They might have a little pink tinge to them. It's just new growth, just in case that happens to you. So now we're going to come in with our blushing bride. I'm just going to start popping them in this gap right here. I've kind of left that blank, focus the thrip over here, and we're going to start building our little blushing bride moment in this little nook. And what I'm doing, I'm just threading them through. Threading them through. And they'll find a home, giving them a fresh cut. Not too much, because we want to keep as much length as possible to create some height in your vase. I'm popping these in stem by stem just because we've already kind of established our base in the vase. You might meet a lot of resistance if you were to arrange these in the hand like this and then pop them into the vase. Kill. Yes. And I'm using a design technique called color blocking. We use this a lot at Fig and Bloom. We just love the kind of interesting modern effect it gives. If that's not your vibe and you want to place these throughout, they will also look really beautiful. But this is the style that we really love designing in at Fig and Bloom. And then what I'm going to do is also reseed a few in a bit deeper, pop a few out a little bit further because we're creating that dimension. We've only got two flowers in a foliage. So I'm going to create dimension by pulling a few of the blushing brides in a little bit deeper, as you can see here, and then popping a few out. So to create that level little bit of dimension, it really makes a very interesting design for the eye. And everyone will be going, oh my God, who designed these? You go, me, babe, me. And if you ever don't like the placement of something, just pull it out, don't be afraid. If it's resisting a little bit, just twist it. What do I want my last one to be? Maybe kind of popping out. Alrighty, so this is where we are at the moment. I think I like what's going on. With something like Blushing Bride, if you do group it all together, it can look like one big mass, which is why I think that dropping some really quite low in the vase, popping some out is really quite beautiful. Not sure if you can see, I've dropped some quite low, so there's almost a gap. But through that gap, you can see a little Blushing Bride peeking through. So don't be afraid to get creative with your levels. Pop some in, pop some out. So I'm just going to finish off the vase with the little odds and ends that I have left over. And I'll just use these as some framing elements. A really beautiful way to finish off your vase and have it look really, really polished is to conceal the lip of the vase. We want to try and conceal where the flowers meet the vase. This just looks really polished. It's a little cherry on top, a little bow in your ribbon. I'm just going to use these little odds and ends that I saved and add them into little places like this. Try to get them angling forward. Simple. Here, just going to fill in that little gap there. So, that'll be about right. Put it through. I want to create a little bit more depth in here. I want to pop one of these out and drop it down a little bit further. And I'll do that by just trimming the stem a little bit, taking a little bit of its length off. And it'll obviously sit a bit lower in the vase. It's subtle, but to me it made a big difference of just dropping that center one in a little bit further and popping the ones on the sides out a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me for my very first Flower Club tutorial. I had such a great time. I hope you had a good time too. Enjoy your design this week. See you next time.